yeah, what we're going to be talking about is that public transport authorities are increasingly coordinating with shared mobility and also specifically micromobility. And some have even reframed themselves as not just PTAs, but mobility companies or PMAs. Like instead of public transport authorities, it's public mobility authorities. And for some, this means including different kinds of micromobility in transit ticketing. So you can, in your transit ticket, you also can take a bike share ride or other things, or just generally giving like operational subsidies for micromobility. And for others, it means integrating private or shared micromobility at transit stops and also in the app. And so we don't mind people using the term MaaS. So that's, we're not here to attack that term, but it's kind of, we're trying to kind of look at another angle of what's happening now to kind of get a more historical view of what the heck is going on right now. And also not just look at a technological revolution side of it, but a transport revolution, which is what we're believing happening. So if you want to use the term MaaS, you can use it. But okay, why don't we start with my co-moderator here, Espen? Why don't you introduce yourself and how do you work with shared mobility?
Yeah, so my name is Espen. I work at Kolumbus on the west coast of Norway in the region of Rogaland, or the city of Stavanger, or the region of Stavanger. And we are a PTA or a PMA. So we are owned by the county municipality, politically driven, so to speak. And we do, of course, have traditional public service like buses and boats and trains. But we also, since 2015-16, been working with shared city e-bikes and also car sharing and other maybe new forms of mobility as well, integrated on different levels in the app, for instance, like scooters, e-scooters as well.
Friso.
My name is Friso Metz. I work for Goedopweg, which Lars finds difficult to say, but he is improving. And Goedopweg is a regional organization in the province of Utrecht. We work together with all tiers of government, and my task is to give shared mobility a boost, mainly in the region, because in the main cities of Utrecht, which is almost 400,000 inhabitants, and we have the city of Amersfoort, 150,000 inhabitants. Their shared mobility is already developing well, but we have to boost it into the region. And that gives us, and the region is 1.3 million inhabitants, so also quite densely populated. And we have quite some challenges, because now we have in the city of Utrecht about 1,000 shared bikes by tier, and they are already serving the surrounding suburbs. But we want to have shared mobility in all the region, and it should be affordable for the users, so low prices. And that means that we need to lift shared mobility from a municipal level to a regional level, and the region is not yet working with shared mobility. We need to shift from a system where companies can earn money in the cities to a system in the region where you cannot earn money. So that's our challenge.
Good one. Bram.
All right, I'm Bram, Nieuwstraten of the Vervoerregio Amsterdam, which is a true Dutch tongue breaker, but it means the region of transportation surrounding and including Amsterdam. We're located just around the corner here. A lot have been said, actually. Friso and I kind of have the same challenges. The main difference is that we are looking into more of a long-term solution. We currently only contract the city and the regional public transportation. In a Dutch context, that is buses, trams, metros, and sometimes trains. But we do see that there's a lot of unfulfilled potential on shared mobility. we are trying to prepare ourselves to get some responsibilities that currently lay with the individual municipalities which form part of our region. Some of them have shared mobility, some of them haven't. The ones that don't have it could be the most interesting to have an area out of a societal perspective. But the inner city actually is the more profitable one. So we kind of conclude that the current fully commercial model which is being deployed in the Netherlands doesn't really serve societal purposes. So we might step in. That's what we're currently
Thank you.
searching.
Good.
All right.
Round of applause. And I mean, guys, why are you guys doing this? Why do we need to integrate micromobility into transit, public transport? Why are we talking about this? Why is this important?
Well, the main reason I would say is that public transportation on its own doesn't fully compete with private car use in most areas. We have still a lot of private car use in the Netherlands, even though cycling is quite good to do. I believe there's more potential to bring back car use and regain our streets, basically.
Good one.
What we see is that public transport is great in transporting large groups of people that go from the same place to the other same place. While lots of mobility, it's far more scattered, and you cannot serve that with public transport. You cannot also serve it with bike sharing alone, because bikes are just for the short trips. But together, you can build a strong system, and there's a lot of interchanges possible. Because now we see, for example, that bike sharing is used in the weekends in the evening when the buses don't run anymore. People want to get home, they use the bike share.
And you are like, we're the esteemed proto-PMA of the world.
Always running back.
Why did you rebrand yourself into a mobility company? Why are you doing this?
Well, in 2015, me and a couple of colleagues around here, we started a B2B concept, a B2B2C concept called Home Work Home, trying to change the travel behavior to and from work. That kind of kicked off good, and the politicians said that, wow, this kind of mobility thinking is a good way of going forward with the public transport services. So there was a political decision back in 2017 that kind of transformed from a PTA to a PMA, if we are using that word or phrase. And the reason for that is, of course, reducing the number of cars on the street, but also from a kind of user point of view, we need to make it more seamless and more integrated or effortless to using the different modes of transportation. We can fly around, or we can travel around the world with one app called SAS or KLM or whatever it's called, but you hardly can get from one county to another county with public transport or other forms of travel. Yeah. So we need to kind of make it more integrated, seamless, easier to move around in our region and also across regions as well. So the digital kind of integration is a very important thing for us, and also, I guess, for other countries as well.
And just last week, we did a workshop with the Green Party of Norway, where we talked about how to subsidize more shared forms of mobility. And you had an interesting conversation with the politician about kind of the whole thinking collision of the MaaS concept and
because I agree with. I think we should kind of almost kill the MaaS way of thinking, at least the kind of old way of thinking, like it's bundled. You're bundling in different kind of modes of transportation. So, for instance, you have public transport as a kind of base, and then you add 10 trips of car sharing a month or taxis or whatever it is. And that's kind of a good way of starting to kind of think about it. But when you kind of adding the psychological aspect from a user point of view, you already kind of prepaid for 10 trips or whatever the kind of numbers are. And if you don't use it, you feel you can kind of done a bad deal. And B, you would probably kind of try to use it just to use it. So instead of having MaaS, old school MaaS, we could have MOD, right? Mobility on demand, which is probably more like when you need it, you can buy it or buy it cheaper or more seamless, effortless, whatever it is.
If I may add to that, the concept of MaaS, of course, is very interesting. But from a regional point of view, you can design the most beautiful MaaS app. But if there's no shared mobility, you can just throw it in the basket. It's useless.
One of the major things within our country is that all tickets are being sold separately by all providers.
Yeah.
And there is no true incentive for them to sell their tickets through other means. So what Friso says, you can have a perfect app, but if there's nothing to be bought by a more interesting price or whatsoever, it's just an app.
And I think like working with micromobility, I've found one of the most interesting things is it's difficult to build proper habits of kind of like the whole. I mean, one of the things that PTAs have said, oh yeah, but we can use micromobility for first last mile, but then you actually have to know that there is going to be an e-bike or an e-scooter outside your door every day to actually build that travel habit to know. Do you have any thoughts of kind of like how we can induce operators to kind of help people with the habits or?
Right. What is happening now is that in this area, there are a lot of places where those mobility options aren't easily provided. So what we see happening is that people only build habits if they come into contact with it often. They have to see it a lot of times before actually installing an app and trying it out. So what would definitely help is more offering to begin with, and have the offering more divided up.
And we a couple of years ago, me and my colleague Randy, standing just behind or next to the camera there, we was trying to. We had a city e-bike system. We collaborated with a Danish company called GoBike, having a city e-bike in our region. They went bankrupt around 2017. And then we scouted the market in the world for a city e-bike system. We didn't find it. So we made it our own. It's probably, if I'm in the kind of bragging...
Yeah, go for it.
It's probably at least one of the best city e-bike systems in the world. One of the two things. It's a really good bike.
Yeah.
It's a electric bike, and it's also fully integrated in our public transport ticket system. So it's if you have a valid public transport ticket, you will also have 50 minutes for free every time you use a city bike. If you also are part of our B2B concept called Homework Home, you don't have to have a ticket. You just have 60 minutes free of charge whenever you are using the city e-bike. So I am trying to establish a new kind of transportation mode for the moment.
Boom.
Flight bike. So I e-bike with the city e-bike from my home to the airport.
Cross municipality
Even across municipality.
Oh wow!
And also when I was in Copenhagen a month ago, meeting with some of the persons in the room, I also went with an e-bike from Donkey from the Kastrup airport to the city center of Copenhagen. Works perfectly.
First last mile.
Wow. Flight bike.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And I think like one of the key messages here is the kind of like the regional coordination, because I mean you guys spoke that that one of the key challenges is that you have municipalities running shared schemes, but we need to have this regional coordination. Do you guys want to say a bit about that?
Yeah, well, it is a matter of the definition, but a lot of Dutch municipalities don't actually run services. They just allow companies for them to run in their environment, and some of them have a lot of rules, some of them have none, and it's really fragmented. So municipal borders actually matter in this country. While you don't see them on the street, you will definitely see them when you look at the number of offering. So those trips to the airport are definitely possible in the Netherlands, because Schiphol Airport is only 10 kilometers from here, so you could definitely bike it, but it's not a municipality, so there's no interconnected offering. And what we believe is that when we combine the responsibility out of the municipalities to a higher level, at the regional level, what we are, it will be more easy to actually make those rides.
Because, I mean, PTA is subsidized buses, trains, trams, subways, and now you guys are talking in your kind of introductions, you were talking about subsidizing e-bikes, dockless e-bikes, and I mean, you guys have docked e-bikes that you're subsidizing, and you have different kinds of subsidies. You can subsidize on price, you can subsidize on operations, like kind of taking away a cost, or just giving hey, we'll give you X amount of cash per year to operate here. And then you have the investment cost subsidy, where it's like, hey, we own your e-bikes, and then we'll take it over if you guys screw up. But like, which kinds of subsidies should we be going for here? Like, I mean, in Norway, where we're from, we've been doing pricing subsidies on electric cars, private electric cars, but not on shared. Where should we be going here, guys?
Well, I think it depends on the situation. Like we have carried out a research within our 26 municipalities to see where are the needs for shared mobility, and we also talked with the operators. Well, what do you see as feasible options here? And for example, with cargo bike sharing, we have the impression that there's lots of possibilities also outside of the cities. But here, the providers, they are facing some challenges. Actually, they don't dare to invest. So what you need there is to cover the risk. So you need some initial startup subsidies. And we already have seen in some areas that there's no risk at all. They have a business case, so you don't need any subsidy at all. But in other cases, you need structural funding, and that's a challenge, because at the provincial level, they pay for the public transportation. They, I think it stops.
Speak loudly.
They are used to pay to subsidize the public transportation for many years, and now here now it works again.
Yeah, there
great, thanks.
Yeah.
Why should they pay for shared mobility? And maybe it's a pity that it has been for free in the cities. The companies, they have come and they do it, and it didn't cost the government anything. And now the government is questioning, like, okay, why should we pay for something like this? So that challenge we are facing right now,
for sure,
and we try to create a breakthrough.
Yeah, because I mean, one thing is that a company can come in and say like, hey, we can launch here for free, and then we'll charge €1 to unlock, and then 25 cents per minute. But I mean, you'll only get a certain utilization, while Espen here, subsidizing their kind of docked bike share, you're looking at 2 to 3x utilization of the local e-scooter scheme with an active mode.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, or in like general thoughts about that is like, for the moment we own our own city bike system. That's not an aim. That's kind of hardly what we use. We don't own any buses or boats or trains, right? But we own our own, or we have designed and own our own city e-bike. But that was just because it wasn't available at the time. And I agree with Bram as well. And we need to kind of trying to lift the market, immature markets, make it kind of economically sustainable. So we are trying to kind of put the kind of state aid money in the right spot. We're trying to lift the car sharing market for the moment with Maria in the back here. So we're trying to kind of just nudge it in the right way, trying to get it off the ground with kind of public money, and then hopefully it will kind of be sustainable, economically sustainable in a couple of years time.
But
all the kind of the main target is of course this kind of sustainable targets, or as we call it in Norway, this is a zero growth target for cars.
Just to kind of explain what that is, it's like with the urbanization, people moving into the cities, the goal of Norwegian municipalities is to for this the growth in traffic to only happen with walking, bicycling, and public transport.
Yeah, and the state puts a lot of money into that.
Yeah. But I just kind of like want to challenge us a bit because, like, I mean, in Norway, I think we've poured in like over 2 billion euros into private electric car subsidies, and we've seen market share of electric cars go from very, very low back in 2010 to now at 90% of market share of new car sales. So I just want to challenge our thinking. Are we thinking too small about this? Because, I mean, we want to have higher utilization. We all want to have bigger schemes. We want to have more people going on because, I mean, we know that car share vehicles replace private cars because most people don't want to own and operate their own cars if they don't have to, if there's a viable standardized alternative. Are we thinking too small about these schemes?
Yeah, I think the government is thinking too much in separate silos. Actually, I was in Bergen, Norway, a couple of years ago, and I was impressed that the region of Bergen decided to shift the money from car infrastructure to the design of a tram system, which nowadays is really successful. In Holland, it wouldn't be possible.
Well, it is quite uncommon, yeah. We have a government which is quite sensible for a lot of arguments, but at some points, some subsidies come available. We also have that example of having electric cars subsidized, but that was too successful. So now they cut it off because the money was leaking away like hell.
Yeah.
So that's one of the major things. If you want to have those transitions, you should be able to afford them in the long run. And that is also something our governmental levels are a bit hesitant about. How much will it cost us? And how much will it cost us is sometimes more debated on instead of the municipal gains and what it will bring to us.
And there are there are several systems that don't communicate with each other. So if we take, for example, a business park somewhere in the countryside, and we want to make it accessible, and we decide there has to be a bus line, then the government will pay for it.
Sometimes, yeah.
We hope that it's possible, but if they decide it, well... But if for example, we conclude that shared mobility is far better to serve this area, then there's no structure.
Yeah.
Well, bike sharing will be far cheaper than having a expensive bus line. But no one will pay for the bike sharing because there's only a system for paying a bus line.
Yeah, and the other thing about having a bike sharing system for one small area is that it wouldn't work because you need to find the customers. You need to have some backbone structure in the urban core to make it work in the outskirts, and that is also something our politicians don't really get yet, unfortunately.
Espen, you've always I've heard you speak at I think a gazillion conferences about the desire to kind of be able to split your pie of money on whatever you see as the most beneficial for local society. What do you think? Are we thinking too small about shared mobility and how it can kind of be funded to kind of create a much bigger usage and utilization?
Yeah, it's hard to kind of overcome the hurdles of thinking across the different sectors from a state level as well. And we as a PTA, PMA could say that Actually, maybe we don't need more money. We just need the kind of freedom to think about how we can facilitate or make a greener, more user-friendly mobility services.
I think the Green Party wants to give you more money.
Right. And that's fine. That's fine.
Inside
that's
joke.
fine. But it's my kind of point is that we should be able to kind of optimize the amount
it's
of
a good
public
point.
money.
Yeah.
Because at least in Norway, which is a kind of a long country, we fit like the Netherlands or Denmark fits in one county on the top of Norway called Finnmark, right? But up north, it lives like 80,000 persons on a kind of area of Denmark or Netherlands. So the utilization of the buses, for instance, is like there is like 0.5 passengers on average on several routes in Norway. Maybe there could be a better option if you have the kind of freedom to facilitate a mobility service, not just a public transport service. For the same amount of money or even less. But let's not say that to the government. We want more money, of course. Everyone wants money for the Since COVID, everyone would like more money from the government.
Yeah, I spoke to these private operators on a panel on this workshop that we had with the Green Party, and it was strange. None of them liked VAT. It was very... everyone wanted to get out of VAT. But because they could lower the price and increase utilization or also increase revenue. And basically that's what happened to the private electric cars. They took away VAT and they've been spending a buttload of cash on that. So,
but I just want to add that we are focusing a lot at Kolumbus in Stavanger region. We are focusing a lot of the corporate mobility side.
Yeah.
So we established this home concept, directly translated from Norwegian, in 2015. And so we do a lot of kind of hard work with the different companies in our region. We have like 650 companies, all the way from Equinor to the kind of one person consultancy agency like yourself. And
like two, but
maybe. Sorry. But we're trying to kind of make the travel behavior to and from work greener and greener and greener and greener with different kind of products and services. And one of the products we have kind of developed ourselves is just like leasing of e-bikes.
Yeah.
So it's similar like leasing a car, but leasing of e-bikes didn't exist. So we established that like 5 years ago. It was brand new, at least in Norway, didn't exist. So we need to kind of get the different players in the market together, like the finance people together with the bike people, making that as a new service. And it's been a huge success. Just putting out like leased e-bikes on the streets in our region.
And people are stopping to commute by car as well because of this.
Yeah,
right?
Because suddenly they figure out that an e-bike could be like a car number 2. Or replacing the car number 2.
To add a different perspective to what you're telling, we see that population in our region will increase in the coming years. So lots of new houses have to be built, not only in the city but also around. And the province of Utrecht decided not to build new car infrastructure. So that's a big decision, I guess. Well, will be a lot of extra movement and of people, and we cannot do it in the same way. So we need a stronger system. And I think you cannot only do this with, let's say, a combination of public transportation and let people work at home. And of course, we have lots of cycling in the Netherlands, e-bikes, speed pedelecs, everything. But you need this extra tier of shared mobility, and somewhere it has to find its place between the existing travel modes, and that's a challenge.
I mean, I see we're already a bit over time. I mean, we started a bit late, but let's just do like 2 minutes for not each, but just the like final sentence. It can be funny also if you want, but it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be funny. You can say something humorous about MaaS or just like one final point or anecdote. Starting with you.
Starting with
Okay, Bram. Yeah, I also know to think of it.
All right.
Is MaaS dead? No.
I wouldn't say MaaS is dead, but the whole concept of thinking about the service models, it's a bit from the technical side. We should definitely look into more offerings.
Yeah.
Just being able to help providers as a government to do their business better.
Well,
Friso.
I think within 10 years, it's for everyone in here fully logic that shared mobility is somewhere in this mobility mix. And now we have to struggle our way to find the right position.
Yeah, and maybe I think that private-public cooperation is really important.
Yeah.
And maybe it's coming from kind of the big sustainable targets. Maybe it's like the public transportation companies that could be kind of having some kind of responsibility putting this kind of together.
Yeah.
Because the private companies would, of course, optimize on like the city center utilization in the city centers, probably. We could see this kind of in a really bigger picture, and maybe owning the digital kind of user interface as well.
Boom. Thank you, guys.
And MaaS is dead.
And MaaS is dead. Okay, good. Thank you.